First up this week, Scott Moffat, Nintendo of America's Vice President of Sales, says that the Wii U GamePad is the only real innovation this console generation. He admits that early on they weren't making games that used it well enough, but now with stuff like Mario Maker and Star Fox, he says its unique potential is being shown much better.
You know, people, they like to say that Wii U is really the only console that innovates just because PS4 and Xbox One are just bigger, more powerful consoles than last generation. And they don't really have hardware innovations, but I think they innovate in other ways, particularly in services and features, where I believe they're pretty far ahead of Wii U in that aspect. And you just look at services like PlayStation Now, basically having like a Netflix for video game, and I see that as an innovation, especially since we're, increasingly moving towards a world where dedicated home consoles aren't what they used to be, and people are playing games in a lot of different ways. So I see gaming as a streaming service as a pretty big innovation.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, I wouldn't necessarily agree with the latter part of the statement, because I certainly don't think they've brought the GamePad to its actual innovative potential, even still, with games like those. I still think, to this date, the best use was Zombie U, and some of their more party-oriented games have done neat stuff with asymmetric multiplayer, but there's just so much they could do for incredible single-player experience that aren't just maps and inventories. And, like I said, Zombie U sort of starts to show that stuff off, but they haven't really let it explode. I feel like they haven't really gotten comfortable with that. And I can't criticize them too hard here, because he's certainly right that the best uses of the GamePad are yet to come, but I'm still a little disappointed that we're 3 years out on this thing, and for the most part, it's been used for all the same kinds of things that the DS was doing 10 years ago.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of great seeds here. Like, for example, having an HD console, it's nice to have a lot of the stuff that you really wouldn't think really needs an HD sort of coat of paint, like maps and inventories, and those are kind of being removed from the TV, giving you more room for the beautiful HD images, which is nice. With games like Wind Waker 2, it adds some nice possibilities for using a more detailed map in a way that more seamlessly integrates with the actual gameplay, rather than having to pause, bring up your map, figure out where you're going, and then drop the map and then keep playing. It's seamlessly integrated, which is nice. But like you were saying, this is all stuff they've done on the DS. And so in that sense, it kind of feels like it's not an innovation. It's more of a bringing an old technology that they've already even used into the home console space, which is something that hasn't been done before. I mean, to an extent, it almost feels like the OffTV is their bigger play, because in a way it becomes Nintendo's sort of primitive approach to a streaming console, where they don't necessarily stream to any device. They just created a device that allows you to stream your games from your console. And that's been a godsend for me, because my wife's also a gamer, and sometimes she wants to play PlayStation, and sometimes I want to play Wii U, and we can do that.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the off-TV play is just something that they downplay so much more than they should. And I feel like they never ever talk about it, but it's certainly one of the best features I've found of the Wii U. Even above anything that they actually, like gyroscope or any of the touchscreen stuff that they want to tout, or even the asymmetric multiplayer, off-TV play is just a huge. It's a very simple technology, but it's a big deal. It's really nice.
Well, you look at a lot of the stuff Ben mentioned, like PlayStation Now, and that stuff's very lifestyle oriented. It's about changing the way you play games to suit the way you want to play games. And that's very much the direction that the off-TV play was going in.
Yeah.
Right, it's hugely convenient.
Yeah. And they haven't really pushed the fact that Wii U is the console that fits into your life.
Yeah.
It's more about innovation, and then people see the innovation, and I don't think that they're necessarily satisfied or convinced.
Well, they were doing a lot of that lifestyle stuff sort of in the beginning of the Wii U, but they didn't push the message at all. We had Nintendo TV, which integrated all of your TV streaming services into one place and then turned it into a social network. They had various different stuff like that. It's way too early in the morning for me to think of other specific examples, but and then they just sort of dropped all that. They sort of fumbled on the messaging with it and then just said, forget about these services.
Yeah.
I'd also disagree, though, going back to Ben, your comment about the streaming services and whatnot. Yeah, I'd also disagree that it's the only real innovation this generation, given those kinds of things like the PS Now, given all the VR tech, and just other advancements in online services.
Well, I think a big one is the ability to stream gameplay from your Xbox One or PS4 to record and edit gameplay. I think that's pretty big too.
Absolutely. But, you know, I also recognize, though, that there are so many hairs to split when we get into talking about what's innovative and what counts for the console cycle that I can't really say he's wrong. I just disagree with him. Though I will say that excluding VR, which isn't really publicly available yet, the GamePad is certainly the most dramatic and demonstrably new innovation, and certainly the one with the most radical new ideas gameplay-wise that can work alongside it.
And yeah, I'd agree. Mario Maker and Star Fox are not necessarily the greatest showcases for what it can do.
Well, I think Mario Maker is a good showcase for what it can do. It's just not a good showcase for what it can do different from, like, the DS touchscreen. Yeah. Other than the fact that it's big and higher resolution, and, you know, it's a really, really smooth, seamless jump between the editor and the player, and that kind of thing is something the GamePad is great for. You know, it can't only be accomplished on the GamePad, but it's still a really nice feature. Something like Star Fox, though, the cockpit view, I mean, that's not anything that couldn't have been accomplished. We can't say for sure yet, based on, like, the Project Guard thing that's being integrated into Star Fox, and the like, robot sentries that you can use to take over enemy, like, cyborgs. Because we haven't played stuff like that yet, I don't think it's fair to say yet whether or not it's a great showcase, but it certainly doesn't look like it's the full potential.
Right, based on what we played at E3, we weren't exactly blown away by the GamePad integration.
Right. Well, yeah, I'd say about the thing about Star Fox for me is the gyroscope feels like the best part, but you didn't need a controller that's exactly like the GamePad to have a gyroscope. They could have put a gyroscope in a Pro Controller, and it would have worked just as well.
Right. Hello everybody, thank you for listening to this Nintendo Week clip, NWC. If you like what you hear, please subscribe to us here on YouTube for more highlights and discussion videos from Nintendo Week podcast, or subscribe to us on iTunes for weekly breakdowns of all your Nintendo news, discussion segments on subjects, games, and more, and tons of other features. Thanks for listening, and we will see you tomorrow with another NWC.